Hi, I'm Gary with Cutting Edge Refinishing, a full-service body and paint repair shop, as well as owner of Cutting Edge Custom Cycles. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to do a paint job on a Triumph 700 motorcycle. We're repainting the plastics and we're going to paint them with special effects to make it look like it's sheet metal that has been pop riveted together. And then we're going to add some graphics on top of that. So join me in the spray booth and we'll show you our complete process for doing so. Okay, as you can see, we're in the spray booth and we've already started the spraying process. We have here the tank as well as all the plastics for the bike. To kind of bring you up to speed on what we've done so far is we started by sanding all the parts with 400 grit wet or dry sandpaper. Then we applied a special plastic primer followed by an epoxy primer over top of that. We then resanded all the parts with 400 grit sandpaper and then cleaned them up and brought them in here. We wiped all the parts down with grease and wax remover, blew them off, and tacked it. At that point we sprayed an epoxy sealer over all the parts, and up to this point you can see we have sprayed our base coat. Now the silver PPG base coat that I mixed up, we mixed up with the fast drying reducer. We sprayed all the parts until they were completely covered with that silver base coat using the Iwata 400 HVLP gravity feed gun. It's important to use the fast base coat reducer because of the next step to our process in making these look like brushed metal panels that have been riveted together. Let me mix up my next batch of paint and I'll explain to you. I'll take a moment and show you the paint that we'll be using for this project. We have both PPG's solvent-based paint system, as well as here we have PPG's enviro-based water-based paint system. Both have very good applications for use, but on this application for the graphics that we're going to be using, we'll be using PPG's solvent-based paint system. I mentioned earlier that we used a fast reducer for the base coat on the initial couple coats. That is until the color is covered. Now what I have is that same silver mixed up with the slow drying reducer. What we'll be doing is we'll put on a light coat of the slow drying reducer on all the panels. We're going to let them tack up just for a few minutes. Depends on the temperature, of course, where you're spraying, as well as the reducer you have. Once they tack up just a little bit, but it's still a little soft, we're going to take our Scotch-Brite pad and we're going to lightly run over all the panels. This will leave light brush marks that will resemble the grain of aluminum or sheet metal panels. So let me demonstrate here how we'll be spraying, and then we'll be scuffing some of these. We'll stop there and make sure we're able to put our brush marks before everything dries. Key is to try to keep all your brush strokes even, as close as you can, so it looks like a even pattern. And the tricky part on parts like these is to get them in all the edges and grooves. Of course, some of these are parts that will be covered by other panels, so it's not as critical. And of course, you can put as many of these lines as you would like according to the look that you are trying to duplicate or resemble. Kind of picturing in your head how you want the grain to look. Now on some of these you can decide if you want the grain to run different directions or the same pattern. That will determine on whether or not you vary the direction that you're dragging your scuff pad here to make those marks. I personally like to make most of the scuff marks go the same direction. Again, that's a matter of opinion and what the look is you like. after we get all the brush marks put in these panels that we're desiring, then we'll go back and we'll lay out all the marks or all the tape lines that we'll need to be able to make it look like individual panels. After that, after we lay out all the lines for the individual panels, we'll go back and we'll duplicate the looks of pop rivets that will be holding all of this together. Of course, sometimes you can tear these, make them into smaller pieces to be able to get in the tighter spots that you have to put these lines on. Okay, that does it for all these parts. I'm going to look them over one more time, make sure I didn't miss any spots, and then go over the rest of them. And then we'll tune back in to show the next step in our process. Okay, so up to this point, we have our base on. We put that second coat of base and put our brush marks that will differentiate the different panels and then set our rivets. So, to start out with, I'll match a couple lines, and it's good to determine kind of a make-believe light source and what direction it might be coming. It kind of helps with the shadows and stuff that you may lay out when you do this. We lay out a couple lines with our 1.5" tape. And we have our Iwata airbrush. I'm using PPG's weak black toner, number 648. That allows you a little bit more control when spraying your base. You can go over and over to make it as dark as you want, without it being too dark on your first stroke and maybe leaving a line that you don't desire. So after making a couple passes of shadow, when you peel back your paper, you have those lines that are set off there. Some of the lines that have a little bit more of a curve to them, we can use our fine line. This blue fine line allows you to make the curves that are needed. After that is laid out, then you can go back to your tape and keep you from getting overspray. Even with the airbrush, air spray is possible. Again, we'll go back with this airbrush, highlight our line with it. When you peel this off, and you have a nice crisp line showing different panels. I'm going to go ahead and finish laying all these out, and then I'll come back and show you how to apply the rivets to it.